Hi, this is Anna, and we're going to go through how to input storylines into Studio so that they can be published as part of a lesson. I'm going to be working in Studio Staging, which looks exactly like Studio on production. I just don't want to mess with production at all. And this is Studio. Welcome to Studio. I'm inside of a lesson right now, so if I were to go back, I'm using this testing story lesson, and you can see that there are already experiences in here. So this will be a longer video, a longer tutorial, because it takes time and there's a lot of different things to take into account when inputting stories. My typical process is that I don't put the voiceovers in until I have the whole story built out or all of the stories built out. So we're not going to worry about inputting voiceovers in this tutorial. We're just going to worry about putting in the information such as characters, locations, and the dialogue lines, as well as the titles of each story. So when you're in Studio, I'm just on main page Studio. I'm in lessons right now. I'm going to go to stories and I'm going to click new story. I'm also going to have my script pulled up. We're inputting this lesson, which is within the whole context of level 4. It is number 11, but I've pulled it into here just so we can easily see everything. And so yeah, I would recommend having the script on a second screen so you don't have to be constantly switching between tabs. But do what you want, you'll figure out what process works best for you. So when creating a story, an overarching story, and a story includes all of the dialogue lines for that story for that lesson. So I'm just gonna name the story the same as the title of the lesson, and I'm gonna put story, and I'm also gonna put that for the internal title. And then for the summary, I'm going to copy and paste this summary, which is a story summary, and put it in for both summary and description. And I'm going to click save. And it's going to create a container for this story. And the container has all of the information for my story, which will eventually pull into the lesson. But this is just the interface for creating, the story. Okay. I'm going to say story a lot if you can't tell. So next, I'm going to input the overarching characters and locations. So all of the characters that appear in the story and all of the locations. So for this lesson, I see that 4 characters are in this lesson. So I'm going to click on characters and I'm going to go and add them. And you don't have to add individually. This is like you can select multiple characters. It's pretty nice. Our engineers are pretty awesome. And I know that Hugo is one, and I know that Dahlia is one. So I have those 4 characters selected. Yeah. And I'm going to click add 4 characters. And now I have my added characters over here. And I guess we can reorder. That's cool. Okay, and I'm going to exit back out. And now I can see that I have 4 characters added. And for locations, in staging, we don't have all of the locations, so just pretend that we're inputting IMP Classroom and House of Hats. So we're going to pretend Falling Stars and MMMI. Those are going to be our 2 locations because, yeah, we just don't have all the locations put in here. So now I have all of this overarching data input, and I can start building out each of the dialogues. So one dialogue, and don't mind me, this is just going to be easier to grasp. The formatting that I used for levels 3 and level 4 are not what are being used. For level 5, we used to have an intro dialogue and then dialogue 1 before experience 1, but we just have this dialogue 1 in level 5. So I am going to create my dialogue 1, and I'm going to create my storyline, and I would honestly recommend just creating all of the storylines up front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're just going to do 4 containers. So 1, 2, 3, correctly. Okay, so I'm gonna go to this first container, which also, yeah, that's nice. These are draggable in case you need to reorder for any reason. So I'm gonna go to this first container, which is my container for dialog 1. I'm gonna go to the 3 dots, click edit, and it's gonna open it in a new tab. And within here, the left bar looks different. You're not gonna worry about font size or font family. You're going to worry about these things though. So the first thing I would recommend doing, so you don't forget to do it, is click edit and input your title and your summary. So currently it's a little convoluted how our titling and summary system work. So the title is the internal title that we see on Studio, and the summary is what users see on MusicQuest. So let me see if I can show you really quick. Yeah, here. So if I were opening a lesson in production, I just want to give you all the context. Taking a second to load to pause. I'm impatient, so we're gonna try this again and hope that it loads faster. Come on. Yes. Okay. So, oh my gosh. Okay, so these are technically the quote unquote summaries that you're inputting. Yeah, so that is what is input here. I'm going to try and get it fixed, but not before we input level 5, just so this continues to be true, and you don't have to worry about anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put dialog 1 as the title. I'm just going to put that as the internal title as well. And then for the summary, I'm going to take this italicized title next to dialog 1 and input that as the summary. There is no description. Click save. All of that's updated over there. Except for internal title, which it appears is a tag to make sure that it goes into the story part of Studio. Okay, so now I'm going to create my lines. So each of these is a line, and each of these needs its own little container. So I'm going to click this, click dialog line, and I'm going to start. This first container is important that you get this right, because any dialog line that you create after this is going to take the location and characters and active setting from this line and copy it to the next one. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So for my first line in dialog 1, I see that it's Dr. M. So that means that we're going to select Dr. M, who is Lottie Milko, and she is active. If she's not active, she's going to be grayed out. And so grayed out means not speaking, and Lottie Milko is speaking. So make sure that's active. Make sure we have the right location, which let's pretend that IMP Classroom is MMMI, and MMMI is a darker background, so we're going to change the theme to light so that all of the UI shows up in a good way. I'll show you what dark looks like. Oh, this looks better. So I guess you can play around with that. So just make sure that your UI is looking good given the light or dark or whatever you use that's overlaid on top of the background. And then I'm going to copy the first dialog line. Your dialog lines should not be as long as the ones that are shown here. They should only be 1 or 2 lines within here. Make sure that when you're gonna paste it, but it's not saved and it's not active in this container until you press enter. See that change? Look at that, look at that. Let's do it again, enter. Okay, so now it's in there, it's solidified, we're good. Again, I'm not adding voiceovers right now. I'm just focusing on adding all of these lines. So now I'm going to create my next dialog line, and see it maintains this character, the active state, and the background information. Not as you'll see. So Dr. M happens again. So we copy and paste that line, press enter afterwards. And then we're going to insert another line. And this time the characters change. So it goes to Hugo. Now this is where you need to be paying attention to what's going on in the story. So Dr. M, at the beginning of this story, is talking to the class. So she's not talking to a specific character, so it makes sense that it's just her character that, as you can see, is going to be centered. That's going to be centered on the screen when she's talking. But when you read Hugo, you can see that he's talking to Dahlia. And so we want Dahlia also on the screen so we know that he's talking to her, even though he does say, "Psst, Dahlia." So, taking that into account, I'm going to line number 3. I'm going to change this to Hugo, and I'm going to change this to Dahlia. And Hugo is going to be speaking the line. Dahlia is not, so she is not active. And something else to take into account is that Dahlia is facing to the right, the SVG is, and Hugo is facing to the left, and so it's going to look a little wonky. They're not going to be looking like they're talking to each other. So I'm just going to switch the locations and make sure that I'm switching the is active so that they look like they're talking to each other. Little details that you pick up along the way. And now I'm going to copy and paste Hugo's line. And now when we add a new dialogue line, we have Dahlia and we have Hugo maintained. And I'm just going to copy the rest of these lines, making sure that I'm switching the is active thing. So stay along with me as I do this. Oh gosh. Yeah, make sure you're copying and pasting the whole line. Jeez Louise. Is Dahlia saying that? Oh, Hugo's saying that. Yeah, it's the switching back. Get a little complicated. And then we change back to Dr. M at the end. And so we're going to put one of the characters to none and one of them to Lottie and make sure that it's active. No matter if you put one character on the left or the right, they're always going to appear in the center if there's no other character. So I'm going to put that line. Okay, then I'm going to click save. So that's saved. So yeah, that's inputting one dialogue. And then you have to do that for all of the dialogues in that one story. Right? Okay, I'm going to refresh. I'm going back to the container that has all of the dialogues in it. And now we can see that this first container is accurate. It has feeling straightforward as the summary. It has our dialogue 1. It has all of our characters. It has all of our locations. When we go to preview it, we can preview it and it's beautiful and they go back and forth. And I recommend just going through and making sure everything makes sense. And again, we are going to QA all of these at the end. So you're going to make mistakes. That's okay. We are going to catch them. We're not going to catch all of them, but we're going to catch 99% of them. So yeah, just be paying attention, but feel free to put on a movie, listen to a podcast, whatever, while you're inputting all of this. Other things that I would like to talk about. Oh yes. So once you have, oh gosh, what am I doing? Okay, I'm back in my story container. And so let's pretend that all of these dialogues have been filled out. Like we have the characters and all of the dialogue lines in each of them, and they're ready to be brought into a lesson. We're not talking about voiceovers. Do voiceovers when you feel it's the right time to do voiceovers. I like to have the entire story done and then I'll go into each and input the voiceovers. But you can do it per dialogue as you're inputting everything. That's up to you. I'll have another video for inputting voiceovers. Okay, so again, we're pretending that all of these dialogue lines are inputted and all of the voiceovers are done and all of this is ready. Now we need to put this story into the lesson that it belongs. So I'm going to go back to main studio and I'm going to go to lessons and I'm going to type in the basis spaces because that's where the story is going. I'm going to click into it and I can see that there's already content experiences. So these are the learning experiences for kids that are already input, and I want to put in my stories. So I'm going to go to this left side and I'm going to click add story. And then I know that I named it the same as this lesson. There it is. I'm going to select it and I'm going to add my one story. And it's going to add, oh my God, I love the engineers so much. I love the engineers so much. I didn't know it. I thought it was going to input all of the stories one after the other, but the amazing thing that it's doing is it inserts the stories between each of the content experiences so you don't have to drag them around. This is incredible. I'm glad that you get to work with it like this. This is actually a new feature, being able to create stories in Studio as their own thing. I used to have to go through and create all the storylines within each lesson. Anyway, so as you can see, we have all of the storylines and they're inputted into the lesson and they're saved. And so if I go back out and then I go back into the lesson, they're there. And anything that you change within, well, let's test this theory. Anything you change within, let's say this dialogue 1. So I'm going to change the first line to yo, and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go back to main studio. I'm going to go to stories, and I'm going to go to this first one, and I'm going to go to the first dialogue. I'm going to open it. Yeah, so any changes you make to dialogue lines within the lesson are going to be reflected back in the story because they're the same thing. You're editing each other. I hope that makes sense. If you have questions about that, please let me know. Okay, so all your voiceovers are in, all your dialogue lines are in the right places, and you're good to move on to the next storyline. I believe I covered everything in putting storylines. If you come across anything where you're like, what does this mean? Should there be information put in there? I don't know what I'm doing. Slack me. I'm more than happy to figure it out with you or to let you know what it is. Yeah, so that's how you input the dialogues. And then, yeah, as I have said 2 or 3 times already, I'm going to create a separate video on uploading voiceovers. So I'll see you in that video. You got this. You got this. I believe in you. It's going to take time. And I thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much. Bye.